think that creators can find success in any number of these things as long as it's really authentic to them and they really know the subject matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, our philosophy on this is really attacking all of these different types of verticals, finding the premier names, storytellers in each of them, and then reverse engineering what is the best way to go about building your business. Like, how do we think about the right product placements to do, the right businesses to develop underneath your brand, the right kind of content to start, diversifying your portfolio with. That's I think more important of a question than just like, what are the hot brand dollars that are floating around right now.
Mr. Beast, he's the world's top YouTuber. At the time of this recording, he has over 130 million subscribers. He's not just a YouTuber. He's also a successful entrepreneur and business owner, launching multiple brands like this burger store that broke world records. Mr. Beast is one of the richest content creators with a $1.5 billion valuation on his influencer-led business. So the question is, how do you work with top influencers and content creators just like Mr. Beast? In this podcast, we're going to share with you valuable insights from David Huntzinger. David was previously with William Morris Endeavor, one of the top talent agencies in the world. He actually joined Mr. Beast's management company called Night Media, where he helps cultivate and manage talents. David shares a ton of valuable insights to help brands like yourself work with some of the top talented content creators and influencers and artists that are out there, that are in everything from lifestyle and gaming to political activism and even financial money management. You're going to want to listen to this entire episode where he shares valuable insights on how to approach campaigns, how to figure out strategic alignments, and how to figure out a win-win for both the business, for the content creator, and for the overall viewer. Thanks. Hey everyone, welcome to the Crowdcreate podcast, where we bring you top thought leaders that are really movers and shakers. And today on the podcast, we have on David Huntzinger, head of talent at Night Digital, the talent agency behind Mr. Beast. We've known David through his previous position at William Morris Endeavor. And so David, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, nice. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So just a general bio, David. Maybe just share your kind of background story and just everything that you've been up to for the last couple of years.
Sure. I've been at WME for the past, I'd say 7-8 years, was focused primarily on the gaming, interactive, and live streaming space over there. Also kind of helped build and center what the company was doing early days in Web3. So the last year previous to me coming to Night was very focused heavily on Web3, but have a background in expertise in the gaming industry, as well as interactive content, live streaming, and everything in between.
Very nice. And so some of the names that you worked with at WME, who were they?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've represented folks like Tim the Tatman, who's top streamer on Twitch and now on YouTube. Markiplier, who's one of the staple names across all of gaming content, one of the pioneers of gaming content, helps groups like OTK start and center their business. So have really focused on a lot of creators primarily coming out of that space, and especially creators in the early days before there was a lot of formalized representation, helping start to standardize processes and really get like the groundwork leveled so they can build successful businesses and careers.
Very nice. So David, I saw the article drop on Insider, WME's David Huntzinger to join, Mr. Beast's talent management firm Night. So kind of walk us through, like, for people that don't know Mr. Beast and just generally, like, what's the vision, what are you working on, and everything.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's obviously become one of the premier names in the space. He's the largest creator on YouTube, the most meaningful name across YouTube. He's built arguably the biggest business on YouTube, and I think that Night has been with him for a lot of that journey, and it's been really impressive what the company's been able to do in helping creators like Jimmy build their business. And so I've always respected Reed, Ezra, and the team over here. And there was kind of a great synergy, a good mind meld and philosophy alignment. So when they kind of approached me, it was a very easy conversation to discuss, like, man, what would it look like over here working on this side of the business? It was pretty intriguing, and so here we are. And I think that, you know, the way we work with talent is a little bit different than other companies in the space. We really do focus on getting really deep into the dirt with them and helping from the very ground level. So it's not a transactional business. It is, on some levels it is, but it's much more than that. It's really helping them think strategically about what does their business mean? Where is it going to be in 3 to 5 years? How do you staff and build those bigger projects? So it's not just brand deals, which is what a lot of companies in this space think about. It's how do you leverage your marketing expertise and leverage the marketing clout that you've been able to develop on your own channel to essentially launch brands, to launch products, to build things that are going to be sustainable longer than your own career potentially. And so a lot of those kind of those kind of key assets that we think about when we're developing businesses, how we're approaching talent too.
Nice. And so in terms of companies and businesses, how should they be thinking about working with talent and influencers that are under the Knight roster?
Well, it just depends. You know, we still do a ton of brand deals for talent, and those kind of talent love to do brand deals. It keeps the lights on. But there are many ways to work with talent. It's not just focused on things that are super transactional, like integrating your product from a marketing perspective onto a YouTube video or to a Twitch stream. It's also about, like, how are you going to partner with them for content? How are you going to partner with them to do something different? So, you know, you look at what we're doing with talent. You've seen Mr. Beast Burger pop up. You've seen Feastables. You've seen some of these bigger type of now brands that are standing alone. So there are opportunities for companies across the board to interact with talent, but you have to get creative if you're not going to use them as a marketing engine. If you want to be building something different, if you're a General Mills type company, then yeah, it's probably just going to be a brand deal in marketing. But if you're, let's say that you're like a white label solution for a ghost kitchen, that's okay. Now you're talking about like Mr. Beast Burger. So most companies in the space, when they're thinking about influencer, the first gut reaction is influencer marketing. It's typically like, how do I use an influencer to market my product, primarily to Gen Z or to millennials? You know, you're thinking that on average, I would say influencers across Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, they're going to be younger focused with their audience. So it gives you an access point that's a little bit different than doing traditional media or, you know, out of home marketing. So I think when this typical company is looking to work with an influencer, the first call is like, okay, well, how do we make content that's going to promote this product launch, this campaign, this season that we have coming up? And that's where we can get creative. Talent get really creative on the marketing side. It's very easy for talent who are essentially storytellers. It's the most easy and rudimentary way to think about it. If you're a YouTuber, if you're a Twitch streamer, what you're doing on camera is storytelling. You're finding using that platform as a medium to tell stories in different verticals. And so you have creators like Hassan Piker who are like politically focused. You have gaming creators who are obviously either playing games at a high level or kind of creatively thinking about that. You have lifestyle talent who are doing any number of things, but regardless of the vertical and the type of genre, all of them are telling stories through their content, and they're finding a way to do that directly with fans. So when you have a brand approaching talent, you can really use them almost as like that creative engine and say, like, how do we integrate the product very naturally into the story? Like, how do we tell the story so that the product's a piece of it? So you can get very, I'd say, unique marketing angles, unique and creative hooks. But that's on average the normal way a company approaches talent. There are obviously exceptions. There are companies who work with talent and want to bring them on almost as like an equity partner, as a creative director. That happens. I'd say that's more atypical. And obviously there are other talent there, or other companies rather, that are like white label companies, more B2B companies who want to partner with talent to launch a business. So it really is just, what is the type of company, what makes the most sense for them to partner with talent. We can obviously figure those things out on the fly, but the vast majority of companies that are approaching talent are doing it through the influencer marketing lens, I'd say.
Nice. It's interesting just how bespoke and custom every campaign is. And so I'm guessing the process, like walk us through time frame, like expectations. Some companies, like maybe do they think that it's going to be rush, or how typically does the integration work with your talent?
Yeah, it depends on how buttoned up the company is. So some companies
Mm,
come and say, "We have the idea. This is how we want to execute it. Put it into your own words, but we're going to give you all of it." And
mhm,
that's usually a good way to operate, because if they're very clear in what they want, then that just gives the talent the creative freedom to play in the sandbox. I think that you get over analysis paralysis sometimes when you have too much white space to play with. So I think that that's one operating way.
mhm.
Um, so I'd say like the company at least needs to come with some idea what they're trying to do, what they're trying to promote, what the vision is, what their angle is, what their messaging needs to look like, and then give the talent the creative freedom to say, all right, well, I have a video coming up in 3 weeks. It will be perfect to integrate here. Here's how we'll do this and mesh it into the story arc of what we're going to build. And then here's how I would put it into my own words. So there's usually some back and forth on creative, but it's typically the best campaigns are typically ones where the brand has a very good high level vision for what the campaign needs to be, what they're looking to achieve, what their KPIs are, and then
Mm,
giving that to the talent and saying, all right, here, now you understand where we're coming from. You put this into your own words and your own creative direction because you know your audience the best. We don't know how to reach your audience. That's why we're partnering with you. So once you have
mm.
that creative freedom, the talent's able then to go and bring that back, think about it, and then integrate it in a way that will actually resonate with an audience. The one thing you always hear from brands and talent alike is that inauthenticity is the worst thing on the planet. I
Yep.
agree. I'm also just sick of hearing the word authenticity. It's like just the most used buzzword on the planet. Um, but it's true. And I think that when you see the bad brand campaigns that come out and they get flamed on YouTube or Twitch or whatever platform, they're being promoted on, it's always the ones that feel as though it's very much like jamming product to fans. It's
Right.
not ones that are like, oh, this is kind of a fun, unique integration. This is like a natural integration. It's the ones that are like, okay, well, talent, just promote our product and hopefully it'll sell well. So that's, again, broad strokes. It's kind of typically how the good campaigns work.
And then do you help companies find who that talent is, or do the companies already say in their vision saying, I want to work with this person? Or
It's a combination. Some companies, when a lot of our job on the talent side is educating companies like who we're working with, so they
Mhm.
know, okay, well, these are the right talent for you down the line. So when the time comes and you're promoting something, these are the talent that we think are going to make sense. So sometimes companies do call us and say, we have this opportunity for this talent, let's discuss it. But many cases, either they or their agency, a lot of these big brands work with ad agencies who, similarly to what I do for talent, will do that on the brand side. They'll help them shape that vision, help them shape what they're doing in the campaign. Those agencies will basically reach out and say, like, we have this idea, what talent makes sense for it. So it's
Mm.
it's both of those. It's both a push and a pull. It's both education and also kind of adding names to kind of to the pool of talent that a company is considering for a campaign.
Nice. What are some of those marketing KPIs and just, that you would use, or that companies and even talent use, like, wow, that was a successful campaign together?
I mean, companies are typically, it also depends on the type of company, but I'd say companies are typically focused on things like user acquisition,
Mhm.
product sales. Like if they can tie it back to sales, it's the holy grail of marketing, right? So I think that companies try to get as close to that as possible. The metrics that are the most easy to digest, especially from the talent end, are things that are related to viewership and engagement.
Mhm.
So I think like the most basic KPIs need to be that viewership is holding true, the engagement is following at least the trend line of other content on the channel, and that you're not getting like that one video that underperforms. So I think the baseline KPIs that brands need to consider are just viewership and traction on the actual channel. But then the step and the layer below that is like, how does that actually convert for you into something meaningful to the business? So if it's a consumer product brand, does that lead to click through to your website? Does that click through lead to sales down the line? a lot of brands will do those kind of like custom codes where it's like a discount code that you can actually attribute back to the creator. Sometimes that's tricky, but sometimes it's not. But I think that, yeah, the farther down you go, the closer you're going to get towards either user acquisition or actually sales. So it's any breadth of those things. I think that the most easy KPIs for an influencer to fully promise and deliver on are things related to viewership, because that's what they know particularly well, right? They know if they make this video correctly, typically the viewership is going to follow this, and typically engagement is going to look like this, and you're going to be able to drive X amount of traffic. So once you're able to drive traffic, then it becomes a product problem rather than a marketing problem. So we typically, when we're thinking about advising talent and we're talking to talent and talent are doing these campaigns, we're focusing on what we can hardline deliver, and what we can hardline deliver is going to be viewership and those kind of related statistics.
Love it. Yeah, on the marketing side, do you have anything, or can you highlight like what's hot right now? I mean, Mr. Beast, I feel like he pioneered the whole viral stunts where people want to watch his video. Like, right, it just the organic shareability, and it's just so relevant. People love him for obvious reasons. Where, yeah, that he's done a really good job. But like, what would you say is hot right now in the world of influencer marketing?
I mean, it's hard to say like one influencer, because there's influencers across many different verticals who are remaining hot. I think that verticals that are performing well, lifestyle is always performing well. I think that storytelling in unique and niche areas is performing well. For example, like, this isn't relevant now that Halloween's over, but there are a number of like horror genre channels who focus on storytelling for like that space. And I think that becomes hot at certain points in the year. With lifestyle talent that are more generic and actually have a wide audience, consumer products get really hot towards the end of the year, towards Christmas, when people are starting to look at the holiday season and try to make a big marketing push to sell products for Black Friday and the holidays. So the way I look at it is more of attacking different verticals, right? And I think that's the philosophy that we have at Night, where it's not sufficient in our mind just to go after gaming creators and say, oh, well, there's a lot of deals in the gaming industry that can be done. What we want to do is really diversify the type of talent we're working with and work with the top tier creators in each of those verticals, because there are unique ways to go about structuring partnerships with companies in all of those, right? This is an interesting trend that I've been tracking over the last year or so. You can look at like red state rural YouTube channels, and these are channels that are popping up and actually finding success now. And I'm talking about like they're channels like Laura Farms, and they're literally farming channels that are focused on living in the middle of the country, not off the grid, and creating content around what it's like to be a farmer. Like, how do you maintain your tractor? What is like crop growing season look like versus harvesting season? So I think that creators can find success in any number of these things, as long as it's really authentic to them and they really know the subject matter. So anyway, our philosophy on this is really attacking all of these different types of verticals, finding the premier names, storytellers in each of them, and then reverse engineering what is the best way to go about building your business. Like, how do we think about the right product placements to do, the right businesses to develop underneath your brand, the right kind of content to start, diversifying your portfolio with. That's I think more important of a question than just like, what are the hot brand dollars that are floating around right now?
Yeah. So walk us through, David, the different divisions at Night. I mean, it's grown from, the original talent vision. So yeah.
Yeah. I sit on the talent side of the business. There's about 4 or 5 different areas of the business that have popped up. It's grown rapidly over the last year and was growing rapidly before I joined. So my side of the business is the talent side, focused on managing talent across the space. We also have Night Labs, which is focused on things like Mr. Beast Burger, for example, helping talent that are in our portfolio or out of our portfolio build businesses that can stand on their own. And that's everything from helping them set up the cap table and finance it, all the way to like hiring operators that ultimately take over the business and help them run that. We have Knight Ventures, it's venture capital. We have Knight Capital, which is its own kind of like entity, and that's focused on investment across the space, but through the lens of influencer and what's hot in the digital world. So we do place chips across the board, but all of these business units are really through the lens of digital first talent. And then we also have Knight Studios, which is led by Alex Piper. That business is a traditional content studio, but again, it's focused through the lens of like, what can we do that really does speak to what we know best and what we believe, which is very much so that like digital talent are the future, and they're faces of brands, they're faces of marketing. They have audience that are very easily mobilized, and so they are the kind of voices that we're looking to empower.
Love it. David, what's the best way for people to follow you? And it's pretty exciting seeing your own career trajectory from WME to Knights.
Instagram, David.Huntzinger, LinkedIn, David Huntzinger. Either are great. Feel free to reach out. Always happy to talk. Those are the best ways.
Nice. Well, congrats on all this success, and wishing all those ventures much with the new digital revolution that's coming about. So
thanks.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
If you like this video and you want to work with influencers, content creators, and artists just like Mr. Beast, contact us at Crowdcreate. We're a full-service marketing agency and advisory that works with talent agencies just like Knight Media that has the relationships with these different content creators. Together, we'll be able to structure the perfect business campaign to be able to help you and your business get more exposure, build a marketing campaign that's able to engage, educate, and entertain your audience, and overall do some good in the world. Thanks.